In the darkness of the jungle, the wind hummed as though it were the last breath of a dying patient. The long and ominous shadows of the trees cast strange patterns on the ground. A chilling cold had descended, not just on their bodies, but on their very souls. 3 individuals, tired of the mundane life in the city, had ventured here seeking an adventure, but now they were lost in the heart of the jungle. None of them knew what awaited them, but the excitement had buried all sense of fear. As soon as their feet touched the soil of the jungle, the air around them changed, as if someone had poisoned the wind with death. Their steps were slow, cautious, yet with every move, something followed them from behind. Sometimes they could feel breath near their necks, but turning around revealed only darkness. There were no sounds of animals, no rustling of leaves, just a dead silence that screamed in their ears. Breathing had become hard, as if the wind itself was denying them the right to live. They took the path of an old trail, which appeared as a faint white fog in the darkness. The trees were so dense that even the moonlight couldn't penetrate, casting a blue shadow over the ground. The trail stretched on, its length unknown. The only choice they had was to keep moving forward. In the middle of the jungle, they discovered strange marks etched into the ground, large circular patterns with the faint impression of human hands in the dirt, as though someone had used their fingers to carve them out. Seeing this, their blood ran cold, but the way they had come was now gone. In front of them, only a deeper darkness lay ahead. In the dead of night, when even the sky seemed to have stopped breathing, they searched each other's eyes for fear. Suddenly, a faint sound of a bell echoed, so soft at first that they thought it was just the wind. But as the sound grew louder and morphed into screams, they realized they were not alone. Beneath a thin tree, something was moving. When their flashlight shone on it, they saw a body wrapped in an old sheet, twitching. Its face was pale, as though it had never seen the sun. The eyes were closed, but the mouth was open, as if it wanted to speak, to warn them. Breathing became difficult. Then from beneath the ground, a strange sound emerged, as if someone buried under the earth was screaming for help. They stood frozen, their flashlight bulbs flickered, one by one. When the light returned, the pale body had vanished, leaving only a hole in the ground, from which a cloud of dust emerged. Something black and moving could be seen inside, but none of them had the courage to approach. The path had completely changed. Where they had come from, nothing remained the same. The map of the jungle seemed to shift with every passing moment, as though it were alive, wanting to ensnare them in its darkness. A strange foul smell lingered in the air, the stench of decaying corpses that couldn't be ignored. In the distance, screams began echoing, but they were not human. The cries sounded more like animals, as if something was breaking, something was lost. Every time they turned around, their own shadows seemed unfamiliar, and in front of them, silhouettes moved along the path. Then, an old mansion appeared, made of decaying wood, with broken windows from which the wind howled. Entering seemed like the greatest mistake. The door opened by itself, without anyone touching it. A cold breeze pulled them inside. The darkness within the mansion was so thick that even their torches were ineffective. Old paintings hung on the walls, depicting people smiling, but their eyes gleamed with an eerie light, as if they were alive inside the frame. Suddenly, one of the paintings fell with a loud crash, shattering the glass, and when they looked into the shards, their reflections were missing. Instead, something dark and shifting stared back at them. In the heart of the mansion, a large room held an old chair, upon which someone sat with their head bowed. When the torchlight fell upon it, they saw blood dripping from the person's clothes. Slowly, the hand of the figure began to rise, as if beckoning them forward. No one dared to move closer. Then, from beneath the chair, red liquid began to spill onto the floor. It was not just water, it was something else, something alive, seeking its prey. Suddenly, one of them screamed, and everything shook. The walls trembled, and dirt and stones fell from the ceiling. They ran towards the exit, but the door slammed shut behind them. Voices filled the air, like old chains grinding together. A clear voice rang out, "You cannot leave now." The voice was neither man nor woman, but seemed to come from the earth and the wind. They screamed as they pounded on the walls, but the walls had become one with the jungle, alive and hostile. The ground cracked open, and large shadows emerged, their eyes glowing red. They were not human, half man, half animal, or just skeletal forms. These figures moved toward them, circling. The air around them grew thick with the smell of death. The shadows came so close that they could feel their cold presence brushing against them, a chill that penetrated to their bones. They ran, desperately, without thought, without reason. The jungle had turned upside down. Trees hung from the ground, and the earth was filled with upside-down faces. Each face stared at them with eyes wide open. Sometimes, a hand would reach out from the face, trying to grab them. The air became so thick, it felt like they were walking underwater. Breathing was impossible, moving was impossible, and survival now seemed like a distant dream. Then, an image of a woman appeared in a red sari, but her face was half burned, and her eyes were completely white. She reached out and grabbed one of them by the throat. The man screamed, but his voice was swallowed by the jungle. When her body hit the ground, her eyes were still white, as if all life had left her. The two remaining survivors kept running, but with each step, the jungle grew deeper, more treacherous. Every tree seemed to be watching them, every gust of wind whispering their names. Far in the distance, a bell tolled, but they could not tell who was ringing it. Then, a narrow path appeared, lit faintly by a beam of moonlight. They dashed toward it. It was the final hour of the night. As they neared the end of the path, the jungle revealed its true face. The ground cracked open, and thousands of hands reached up, pulling them down. They screamed, but their voices were silenced by the jungle's roar. Dragged deeper into the earth, they felt the suffocating darkness close in. Their screams were drowned out by the eerie laughter and cries of countless souls trapped forever in the depths. The path narrowed with every step, as if the tunnel itself was alive, feeding on them, never letting them return. After what felt like an eternity, they stumbled upon another room, lit with an unnatural blue light. In the center of the room stood a tree, not a normal tree, but one with branches soaked in blood. Hanging from it were pieces of human bodies, some with arms outstretched, others with faces still twitching. Beneath the tree was a pit, from which strange living creatures crawled into the air. Their forms resembled humans, but their eyes were hollow, just black pits, from which the shrieks of the damned emanated. One of the creatures reached out towards the survivors, its long skeletal hand extended, as if waiting for them to join its wretched army. They ran, but every path twisted and turned, leading them further into the nightmare. The walls trembled as though the jungle itself was breathing, carving new marks and scars into the stone, as if the earth had written its own tale of pain and death. At last, one survivor stumbled upon an old square, with 4 paths leading out. Each path glowed with a different light: red, blue, yellow, and black. He chose the red path, as it seemed to offer a glimpse of life. But as he took a step forward, the walls bled, the ground became slick, and arms reached out to pull him back. The walls bled with a vengeance. The jungle was hungry for its prey, and it would not let go. He struggled, but he was only getting heavier. With each step, it was as if the jungle was pulling him into its very veins. Then, he saw a door in the distance, beyond which a faint sliver of daylight shone through. He ran with all his might, that as he reached the door, he saw it, too, was breathing, like a living, pulsing being. Without fear, he pushed it open, and stepped into the blinding light. And then, everything was silent. The jungle returned to its quiet, but in the air, the faint echo of his scream still lingered. And somewhere in the depths of the jungle, a new tree had grown, with a fresh corpse hanging from its branches. Subscribe, like, share, and don't forget to press the bell icon.